Being a mom is tiring sometimes, and some seasons are more demanding and exhausting than others. We all know that, but I think a lot of the time our life habits share more of the blame for our exhaustion than we might think. And this became very apparent to me between the time that my son was about 1 and 1.5, because as he started gaining some independence and requiring less from me, I still felt really tired. A few examples just to put this in perspective for you are like when he first dropped the first thing in the morning feed. I thought, okay, yeah, I'll be able to sleep in a little bit if I'm really tired because Alex can take him now, or just on the normal day to day, I won't have as much pressure on me first thing in the morning because Alex can take him while he gets ready and I can focus on making breakfast, and as opposed to needing to take Kai and simultaneously make breakfast and get everything ready for the morning. But no, I still felt tired. And then a little bit later down the road, he stopped nursing entirely at night and I still felt really tired. And the one that really made all of this really clear to me is when he, for the most part, started sleeping through the night every single night, maybe waking up like once or twice, but going back down really, really easily. And I still was feeling really tired. I had kind of been getting the message over the last 6 months, but that was when everything really clicked, that my life habits were affecting my energy levels. So today I am sharing with you 5 life habits that I changed over the course of those 6-ish months to increase my energy. And all of these things you can start changing today. They're all really simple, realistic, like you don't need to buy anything or do anything special. So hopefully this will be helpful for you if you are like, I am at my wit's end with my energy and I'm gonna fall asleep right now. If you're new here, I'm Amber. I make kind of crunchy motherhood and lifestyle videos. If you like that sort of thing, please hit that little subscribe button down below. I'd love to have you here. The first thing, and I personally think that this was probably the hardest of the whole bunch, I thought I'd just hit you with the doozy right out of the gates, is to stop drinking my coffee first thing in the morning. And I actually first switched to decaf, and then after that, I started skipping my morning coffee altogether. And the reason you don't want to do this is because your cortisol levels, which is your stress hormone, is highest in the morning. Like that's how your body naturally gets you to start waking up and feeling more awake. But when you have coffee first thing, that spikes your cortisol even higher. So that's why a lot of times you might notice that kind of like wired, anxious feeling when you have coffee first thing. And then inevitably a couple hours later, you're going to start to crash when those cortisol levels plummet. And what some people do is then have another cup of coffee to compensate for that crashing feeling. And you just end up like going on this up and down roller coaster all day until you're finally like, okay, I can't have any more coffee. And I never did that, but I definitely noticed that crash like midday, maybe like a little bit before noon. And then the rest of the day, I just felt like I was like, it was hard. What I've read is that ideally you just want to wait 30 minutes to an hour after you wake up. I think also it's best to have something to eat before you have your coffee in the morning. But I personally made it harder for myself because I like to have my coffee in the peace and quiet. And so I initially was waking up at like 5 a.m. and having my coffee. And once I decided to stop doing that, I was waiting until nap time, so around noon, to have my cup of coffee. So maybe it won't be as hard for you as it was for me. If you're fine just waiting like an hour after you wake up, it might not be that hard. I was waiting like hours after I woke up to have my coffee. But if you are like me, something that can help is having something to replace your coffee in the morning and just going into it knowing it's not going to hit the same as your coffee. So I started drinking herbal teas or like ginger tea or something like that first thing in the morning. It took me about 3 weeks to get over the craving kind of a feeling. And at this point now, I don't crave coffee at all. Sometimes I still have it when my son naps, but I don't have that feeling like I need it. I definitely don't have this like up and down spike of like getting the energy and then feeling like I'm crashing and then getting it again or anything like that. And there are a lot of days now where I just don't drink coffee at all. Like I'll have matcha or sometimes just like a hot chocolate or a tea or something like that instead. And I absolutely feel much better since I've dropped the habit of coffee first thing in the morning. The second thing that I started doing was drinking more water throughout the day. Dehydration 100% can make you feel fatigued and tired. And if you're like me, this is a tough one because honestly, I think that I've just had bad water drinking habits for most of my life. So I almost feel like I don't always notice that I'm dehydrated because my body is so used to being dehydrated, which is so not good. So what I started doing sometime last year was filling up a pretty good sized mason jar of water and just leaving that like around the area that I usually frequent. So like the kitchen, living room area. And that way it's just there for me to sip on throughout the day. What I was doing before was I would occasionally get like a normal sized cup of water, fill it up, drink it, put it down, and then that was it. I wouldn't have another sip of water for like hours and hours. But because I fill up this big glass, it's just so much easier to sip on throughout the day. And because it's big, I only end up needing to refill it like once, maybe twice a day. If you're not a big water person, you can also make it more interesting by adding in like little mini beverages throughout the day, like a little glass of coconut water with orange juice, or like making a water infusion and filling your big glass up with that, with like strawberry basil water or something like that instead. And that way you're keeping it interesting. But if that feels overwhelming to you, don't worry about that. Just do the big cup of water thing or a big water bottle, something like that. Keep it near you and call it a day. I wouldn't even count the ounces because I feel like that is just too much for me to think about. And I know that me drinking water throughout the day as opposed to 1 or 2 little 8-ounce cups is definitely better. The third thing is to not overbook my day. One of the best things that you can do to not feel burnt out at the end of every single day is to not schedule too many chore and to-do list items in one day. No matter what you do, there are going to be days occasionally that just feel rushed and overbooked, but with a little bit of planning and forethought, that doesn't have to be every single day for you. I actually filmed a whole video going really deep into how I manage my time and avoid this as a mom, so I'll leave that up here and in the description box down below if you want to check that out. But long story short, if you don't plan to get too much done in one day, it's so much easier to move through your day more slowly and mindfully. This is especially important for someone like me because I tend to move at this like go, go, go speed no matter what. And that's probably from like years and years of cramming as much as I can into one day as possible. But when I plan and space out my to-do list, I'm able to catch myself much more frequently when I'm rushing through a task and to remind myself like, oh yeah, there's no reason to rush right now because I only have maybe this and 1 or 2 must-do items that I need to get done today. And in doing that, I'm also able to invite my son to help me more often, which I know he loves. Doing this has really helped me to not feel at the end of every day like I am just at the end of my rope. And I also know that I'm showing and teaching my son a slower, more regulated way of living. The fourth thing is probably the second hardest one, and that is to scroll less. If you're a human and you have a phone, which you probably do, I feel like this is something that the majority of us are going to have to like keep in check and find balance with for our entire lives. And it's probably safe to assume that the majority of us find ourselves scrolling all throughout the day, like first thing in the morning or when you're on the toilet or at a stoplight even, or when you're putting your child down for their nap and then once they're down, you're also scrolling. I've noticed for myself when I don't keep this habit in check, I tend to feel either really, really anxious throughout the day or just completely drained, because scrolling really is like a mind-numbing activity. Lately, what I've been doing to try to keep this in check is to not actually keep my phone like in my pocket or on me at all times. I'll put it on the counter, and then I've caught myself when I'm about to go to the bathroom or something, I turn around to go get my phone. And because I do that, because I actually have to think about going back to get my phone, I'm also able to stop that cycle and be like, wait, why am I getting my phone to go to the bathroom? And then I just go to the bathroom. Or when I'm gonna go to do laundry, same thing, just little things like that. And I've noticed that when I break the cycle in these little moments, it's becoming easier to also break the cycle when I'm like on the couch and my phone is right there. But I think it really does start with the little moments when like you really, really do not need to be scrolling on your phone. I do feel like I've gotten more energy from just not being on my phone so much and replacing that with something else, or honestly just being more present in those like 2 minutes that I'm doing laundry or on the bathroom or something like that, in the bathroom. The last thing is just to get dressed at some point in the morning. Doesn't have to be first thing in the morning, doesn't have to be any particular kind of outfit, just getting dressed in the morning sometime. There's a lot of people right now that are like sporting the really flowy, pretty dresses, and I love that for them. But if that's not you, don't feel like that's what you need to do to be dressed up. I'm talking about just putting something on other than like my pajamas or my first thing in the morning lounge clothes. If it's easier for you to get dressed first thing in the morning, do that. If it's easier for you to wait like an hour, like throw some lounge clothes on and then make breakfast and then get dressed, that's what I do that. And I think like don't limit yourself for what it means to get dressed up or just to get dressed. For me, sometimes I'm wearing my workout clothes, sometimes I'm wearing jeans and a t-shirt, sometimes I throw on a slightly dressier shirt. It just depends. But to me, all of those feel like I'm getting dressed. And I don't know what the science is behind this, but for whatever reason, when I put in the time and energy, even if it's just 5 minutes, to put something else on, I feel more awake and more productive, and honestly, more like myself too. I hope you found this video helpful and that you feel like the things I shared are things that you can apply to your life right now if you wanted to. If you did, please give this video a thumbs up. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you're having a beautiful day full of energy, and I'll catch you in the next one. Bye!